Water Quality of Mason Lake, Irvine, California, Part 2, Nanobubbles, Ultrasound, and more. This will cover attempts to control and improve the water quality of the lake. It should be number 15 in my Field Notes series. Part 1 looked at the history of Mason Lake and the water quality issues. It's number 14 in my Field Notes series. Hope you looked at that first. Let's look at part of a contract in 2019 between Orange County and Aquatechnics for maintenance of water quality for Orange County lakes, including Mason Lake. This is a continuation of a paragraph I read at the start of my first video on water quality. So let me start reading it from where we left off. For years, aquatic herbicides and pesticides have been used to control heavy planktonic algae growth in the lake, in Mason Lake. However, the county would prefer to identify a more sustainable, long-term approach to address the algae problems in the lake as opposed to only chemical controls. Such a plan could include alternative treatment products, including Phoslock treatments. My understanding is Phoslock uses a clay-like substance that permanently binds excess lake phosphorus, or additional vegetation for the uptake of excess nutrients or other potential ideas to be recommended by the contractor. It is requested that the contractor submit the unique ideas on how to best manage this particular lake. The primary use of the lake is by motor boat hobbyists. If water quality conditions can be improved, OC Parks may consider reopening the lake for fish stockings. As you can see, there's a plea there to the contractor in 2019 to find non-chemical control treatments, which they apparently did. So the present emphasis on Mason Lake recreation does not involve fishing, as once occurred at the lake, but instead showcases model boat sailing. This is one of the bulletin boards at Mason Regional, and you can see 9 acres of lake, fun for the entire family, model boat sailing on the lake, smooth bike paths. So let's look at the floats on Mason Lake. If you come to the park, you might ask what those floating structures are doing on the lake. They are improving the lake's water quality without the use of chemicals. This is a view of the east float, the east part of the lake. And then the west side, the west float. When were these floats put at Mason Lake? I can narrow the time frame by looking at online YouTube videos of the park. I know the floats weren't there on May 15th, 2024. They were there on July 9th, 2024. So sometime in late spring in 2024, that's when these floats were put in. Periodically, these floats are serviced by technicians from Aquatechnics. Let me show you what I observed a few weeks ago at Mason Lake. So I saw that they had this skiff that they took off one of these trucks, and 2 employees of the company launched the skiff with an electric motor, small electric motor, masking their faces. This is on the northeast section of the east part of the lake. I'm doing this at ground level with a zoom camera. The top of the float has a freely rotating arm, you can see with the red on either side, apparently moved by the wind with red squares at the ends to prevent birds from, I assume, from roosting on the solar panels. The white object at the top left front in the photo is a light that flashes. It's very visible at night. So you're looking at the bottom of the solar panel. A quick examination of the inside, and the work is moved to the second float to the west. I found out that the float measures 6 feet by 4 feet. They opened it and did some sort of servicing. Then they had to go underneath the bridge. To get to the larger western portion of the lake, the two had to carefully go under the bridge. And another inspection, and they returned to the original launch site. Removing the boat from the water, and then placing it on one of their trucks, and done for the visit. So what are the floats doing? Well, the short answer is they disable the lake's algae using ultrasound, thus controlling algal blooms, which this lake is prone to do, or to have at least. I did a Google search on my photo of the float, and the search indicated it was a Water IQ Sentinel AIQ. That's the name of this thing. There's a presentation by Water IQ Technologies at YouTube, and there is the address. I'll put that in the show notes. I learned quite a bit of this over this 1-hour presentation. And it includes this nice graphic. The upper image looks like it's an electron microscope picture, the bottom a light microscope picture. So let me go over this text and read it and maybe add some things to it. So in the upper left side, we'll blow that up, we have something called a blue-green algae. It's also known as cyanobacteria. This is primarily the cause of some of these algal blooms in the past at Mason Park. And what this particular group has, and the genus name is Microcystis, is that it has these vesicles, these gas vesicles that is pointed there. And the ultrasonic waves causes the gas vesicles to collapse. Then the gas, which is actually air, mostly nitrogen, 20% oxygen or something like that, migrates to the outer cell wall, diffuses out, causing the algae to drop out of light where it dies. Now, what's happening here is that the buoyancy of the blue-green is changed because it's gotten rid of all these vesicles. It becomes much more dense. It then sinks. It can't do photosynthesis at the bottom of the lake, and so it's going to die. It's a crucial part of its life cycle that this particular group goes up and down the water column. When there's sunlight, it goes up to the top and photosynthesizes. On the right, it shows you that there is an ultrasonic pulsar that produces the sound waves, and they are designed that they won't actually break the cell, the outer cell wall. If they did, they would release some of the poisons, and we discussed the poisons in part 1. And it also turns out that there's another group of algae, the green algae, like I think Spirogyra, in which the ultrasonic waves cause the internal cell walls to break, interfering with their fluid transfer while expediting the death of the algae cells. So the ultrasound affects the algae, and it does it in such a way that it interferes with their life cycle. Doesn't kill them necessarily, but it ends up with their death. Other things I learned from the video is that one unit can control 120 acres of a lake as the ultrasound signal goes out 400 meters. I remember sound travels farther in water than in air, so you don't have to attract the algae to the unit because it really can spread out the ultrasound signal quite far. Its line of sight, so the 9-acre irregular-shaped Mason Lake would need 2 to cover the whole water area. If Mason Lake was a perfect circle, you probably only need 1. It doesn't impact any fish. That's been reported. It's harmless to people. And as I say, one blue-green algae group found at Mason Lake, Microcystis, has major health implications and seems to be the major problem with algal blooms at Mason in the past. Another website that features this particular float indicates it's the environmentally friendlier alternative to algicides is an appliance that is placed in water and emits over 2,000 ultrasonic frequencies every 36 minutes over a 360-degree radius. They found out in research that different frequencies and intensity of ultrasound impact different algal species. And they pointed out, and they also did this in the video, that its effect is comparable to an opera singer who, delivering the right pitch at the right decibel level, can cause crystal glass to vibrate and shatter. Remember, it's just the vesicles, it's not the cell wall that does that. And so, just remember, it fractures the vesicles, not the cell wall. I've been told that the ultrasound device has reduced but not eliminated the need to use chemicals at Mason Lake for maintaining water quality and low algal populations. And I've also been told that these floats cost about $22,000 each. The video said that about 3 years ago. But in order to do chemical treatment of the water, it probably would cost about $10,000. So that in the long run, these floats save money and seem to work, and they have reduced chemical spreading, although it did not eliminate it. So on June, for instance, 24th, 2025, I noticed another skiff on Mason Lake that was spreading some algicide behind the boat's path. And it looks like it's from a company called Sea Clear, and I looked up their website, and Sea Clear said that it's applied at the first sign of an algal bloom. Sea Clear's copper ions inhibit photosynthesis in algal cells, providing fast-acting control while simultaneously removing phosphorus from the water column. Sea Clear gets to the source of unsightly algal blooms, reducing the amount of nutrients available and lowering the chance of a recovering bloom. But there's a steady increase of nutrients going into the lake from large bird populations and other features. So it's just it's a battle that constantly needs to be controlled. There's also something else that's important to increase the quality of Mason Lake water, and that's to put in aeration systems, because there have been fish kills in the past, and fish kills are usually due to low oxygen in the lake's water. I discussed this in my Part 1 video. Aeration systems exist for adding oxygen to the water, and Mason Lake has some relatively new devices that were put there. So there are two main ways of increasing oxygen content of a lake's water. There are subsurface diffusers where air is pumped into lakes and bubbles are released, the smaller the better. The second way are fountains that, according to an AI search I did, quote, agitate the water's surface, increasing contact with the atmosphere to transfer oxygen. It looks like both systems are in place at Mason Lake. I want to look at them in more detail. And actually both systems are on this picture, but let's look at them in more detail, as I say. A 2000 Los Angeles Times article stated that an aeration system was installed in Mason Lake in 1999. Was it the lake fountain? The lake fountain first was seen in the aerial photos I looked at in 1999, but not in 1996 or earlier. And here's what the fountain looks like at Mason on January 29th, a couple of days ago. And nearby is this structure here with rock tile sides near the edge of the lake. It's likely the pumping station for the fountain. The machinery was active. You can hear it within the enclosure. Here is an aerial view from 1999 from a website from Orange County that has free aerial photos, not for every year, but a pretty good resource. And you can see in 1999 that structure there, which is likely that pumping area. But in 1993, it does not show, and it doesn't show in 1996 on a CD-ROM that I have on Orange County 1996 aerial photos. There may have been multiple Mason Lake fountain locations. I talked with some model sailboat owners on January 8th, 2026, who told me there were 2 fountains at Mason Lake, one not working. That's where the cormorants sit on the pipe, I told them, and they agreed, and the other 2 on some sort of circular platform. And I'm going to show you that platform as well in the next situation, the next slide. So this possible second fountain location probably hasn't worked for a very long time. I don't know very much about it. You can see where the pipe is and where the fountain is behind it, the functional fountain. The lake does change its surface height, but it tends to be maintained because it's reclaimed water, and they can open up a tap and refill the lake. And a closer view here of the 2. And then I'm going to show you, I didn't realize I had this, but I found this among my collection of videos, that on June 10th, 2025, I was filming this group of geese with their goslings, and watch carefully at the very end. Coming up. That must be the pipe, and there is some sort of circular feature that allowed those cormorants to sit on them. The lake definitely has subsurface diffusers. So let's look at the 2022 units that were put in. And these 2 that are hidden under these fake rock covers are mole air nanobubble generators. They were installed about late March to early April 2022. How do I know? Well, I found a YouTube video from Mason in the first week of April 2022, which actually showed the devices seated on the concrete platforms on the lake edge without their false rock cover. And I got a picture of that, and I searched on their image to get a match as to the model and manufacturer. There are these 2 nanobubble generators. And I went to the website that had made these, and they describe what a nanobubble is. Nanobubbles have a diameter of less than 200 nanometers in size. That's about 2,500 times smaller than a grain of salt. While they naturally form in water sources like crashing waves and waterfalls, they can also be created through advanced technology, such as mole air nanobubble generators. Although tiny in size, the unique properties make them incredibly powerful. Unlike ordinary bubbles that quickly rise and pop due to buoyancy, nanobubbles remain suspended in liquids for much longer. At their tiny scale, Brownian motion is stronger than buoyancy, allowing them to stay suspended and deliver oxygen or other gases precisely where it's needed. So the floats and the nanobubbles, the floats to take care of algal blooms, and the nanobubbles to take care of some of the fish kills. In the 1990s, there were a lot of fish kills at Mason Lake and Mason Regional Park. Now, there are plans that you'll find online to bring better water to Mason. Right now, if you go around Mason Lake, you'll see these signs saying this landscape is irrigated with reclaimed water, and so is the lake. The lake is a lake filled with reclaimed water. Notice there's a little vermilion flycatcher on the sign. Do not drink. But there is a project that may bring better water to Mason Lake and some other areas. There is a poster describing the project that I show you there. It's a coordination between the UCI, basically I think it's the engineering school, and OC Parks. And the title is Mason Regional Park and UC Irvine Watershed Improvement Project. There's more information there as well on that the bottom link. And this is from the poster. There's no date on the poster, which is interesting, but I'll talk about where this project is. The project description is that the Mason Regional Park and UC Irvine Watershed Improvement Project consists of a stormwater and dry weather runoff capture that integrates natural treatment systems. This will provide treated runoff water rather than recycled water or reclaimed water to Mason Park Lake, which will benefit regional water quality and Newport Bay. And their project benefits are you'll be able to treat stormwater and dry weather runoff. I guess those are from lawns, etc. Improve water quality at Mason Park Lake. Provide water to UCI Marsh, and educate the public by allowing visitors to walk through or around structural BMPs, which they don't define on the poster. So I looked around, I asked AI, and AI said in stormwater management, BMP stands for Best Management Practice. These are structural devices, operational techniques, or behavioral measures designed to reduce pollution in stormwater runoff, improve water quality, and manage runoff volume. They are essential for preventing debris and contaminants from entering waterways. Sounds good, right? So what in practice, what is it going to do? And what it's going to do, and I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to show this diagram, is one of the aspects of the project is to take the east part of the lake, the southeast part of Mason Lake, and turn it into a wetlands. They're going to divert some of this water, the stormwater, to this area here, create a new wetlands, and the wetland plants will absorb some of the nutrients that normally would pollute the water. Be really interesting. So where is this in the planning stage? Well, I did find something called a Qualified Future Project List for William Mason Regional Park, new water source for lake, but not yet funded. And there it is in a website called OC Public Works. And perhaps some more information about it at this website, ocgis.com. So it's more than just a project and some plans. It's in the pipeline. And I saw that it would cost about $7.5 million, and we might get a different habitat in Mason Park in the west side. It'd be very interesting if it actually was funded and it did work to improve water quality. So I will update this video's show notes when I get more information on Mason's water quality history or on the Mason Regional Park and UC Irvine Watershed Improvement Project. Now, one aspect of the lake and the west side of Mason Regional Park is a lot of complaints about the bird droppings at the park and whether those could be cleaned up or not. Aesthetically, a lot of resources have been put toward this problem. In fact, there's so much feedback from the public that the Rangers had a information case last spring that I took a photo of, discussing why so much poo at the park, and showed all sorts of things. They emphasized the geese that were there and all the things that they have done to try and clean up after the wildlife. And so they put a picture of this, their goose poop walkway patrol, And here it is in action. They actually brush early in the morning. They brush the sidewalks. The brush can be put at an angle so it moves things to the side, not only droppings but also leaves and other debris. And it should make the other cleaning techniques easier, as there are other techniques. For instance, they also have this power washer that comes out. It would be difficult to keep following the geese all day long, so it's only during the morning that they do this. In addition to, they have these high-powered blowers, one-person blowers. This may do great for the aesthetics of the park. I'm not sure how much it does for the quality, the lake quality water aspect of it or not, because a lot of this stuff may end up in the lake anyway. In addition to that, we pointed out in the first part that the trees that are planted near the lake are dropping their leaves into the lake, and what happens to all these leaves? They tend to float initially, and then as they decompose, they can sink to the bottom and create problems in terms of the oxygen demand. And so I've seen, for instance, on January 17th, a person from the Aquatechnics contractor actually raking leaves out of the lake. You can see how many leaves he's already removed from the lake there. And when he couldn't rake them, he took this net and was starting to net the fragments out of the lake. In addition to that, I've seen the maintenance staff at the Mason Regional Park also removing debris from the lake. So it's an ongoing situation to keep the water quality at a high level and to keep the aesthetics of the park at the same high level. And you're just fighting some of the natural processes at work, but that's where your tax money is going, and some of your entrance fee probably as well. So this was part of my Mason Regional Park YouTube Field Note series. Thanks for watching it. If you haven't seen part 1, video 14, it covered the history of the lake and some of the history of its water quality problems. So this is another of my JDW talks. I now have over 1,000 subscribers to my channel. So that's really great. So join my YouTube channel to enjoy the outdoors of Orange County through my eyes and be informed when a new video comes online. I have YouTube talks on genealogy topics. I wear 2 hats here: census, Ellis Island, immigration, and naturalization. And I have more videos on natural history topics, virtual birding field trips, birding optics, California birds in Mason Park, and nature notes, and some videos of things I am interested in. So go out, take a look at Mason, understand all of the resources that go into providing a, quote, park-like feature for you to enjoy the lake, and hope to see you next time for another video on JDW Talks. Bye-bye.